it is the new month of Iyar. And Iyar is known as the month of healing. Just to preempt, every single month in the Jewish calendar has its own unique spiritual energy. And our work is to learn about it, to integrate it, and therefore use the energy of the time and Judaism as a land-based faith, that every single energy is connected to the land, is connected to the agricultural cycles, connected to the moon and to the months. And what we're doing is that we're learning what that wisdom is in order to tap into it. So the month of Iyar is actually the month of healing. We know that if you see the word in Hebrew, Iyar, which is Aleph, Yud, Yud, Resh, which stands for I am Hashem, your healer, Ani Hashem Rofecha. And what is the Jewish view and the spiritual view of healing, and how can we use this month to heal? First part. Second part of this month is that it is the bridge between Pesach and Shavuot, and that is the period of time called Sefirat HaOmer. During Sefirat HaOmer, it's a time of personal inner refinement, where every single week is dedicated to a different Kabbalistic Sefirah, which means a divine godly attribute, and we do inner work related to that particular Sefirah every single week. And even more complicated is every single day there's a different higher resolution of that particular Sefirah. So that is kind of the time that we're in right now, this journey from Pesach to Shavuot. And it's a magical time. It takes a lot of personal awareness and like being on it, and every day we count. I'm going to make another video just on Sefirat HaOmer. But right now we're really leading up to the time of Shavuot, which is the time of receiving the Torah. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want to refine ourselves from the time that we leave Egypt to the time where we receive the Torah. And the Torah is, it's a love letter. It's like a contract, a wedding contract between a man and a wife, and the Kabbalah say that Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, and God is like the masculine and the feminine, and Shavuot is like this wedding. So, we're doing all the inner work to prepare for the wedding of Shavuot. Another thing, number 3, on a more national level and on a more relevant level, that this time of Iyar is a very Zionist month, and that's because we have both Yom Hazikaron and Yom HaAtzma'ut, which is Yom HaZikaron is Remembrance Day, and then we switch straight into Yom HaAtzma'ut, which is Independence Day, from deep sadness to incredible ecstasy. So, for a lot of people that transition is pretty difficult, and with everything that's going on right now, even more so. But we also find ourselves in Iyar as an almost Zionist month. So there's a lot of things happening. So we have the spiritual, Kabbalistic perspective of the month of Iyar, which is the fact that it is a month of healing from the verse Ani Hashem Rofecha. We also have Iyar as the month of inner emotional, psycho-spiritual refinement. And we also have a third perspective of the month, which is the more Zionist, connected, relevant to this period of time. So let's take a step back. How do we use this month for healing? I want to start off with a metaphor. I want you to imagine a light. And this light is shining very, very, very brightly. And on top of it, I'm putting a piece of fabric on top, and then another piece of fabric, and another piece of fabric, and another piece of fabric. That light is still there, and it's constantly there, but it's going to be dimmed, right? So if I want that light to shine, what I have to do is I have to take off each piece of fabric until that light will completely shine. In Judaism, we believe that the light of the soul is infinitely connected to the light of the Creator, and therefore it constantly shines. But through our thoughts, fears, lack of beliefs, lack of self-confident awareness, we create separation. We add on these layers onto the light, and therefore our light is dimmed. We don't believe that the light ever dims. The light is always bright and shining. The light of the soul always shines, but it is our work to remove all the things that are preventing that light to shine. So healing is that process. Healing is the process of removing the things that are blocking the ultimate energy of renewal and life and joy and vitality that is constantly there. On a physical level, that is true because we know that disease is when our body and our cells are constantly renewing themselves, right? But when there's toxins and when there's things that are getting in the way, that doesn't happen, and therefore that creates disease. So when we want to heal, what we have to do is to remove the toxins so that our body can go back into that natural state of healing and rejuvenation. And everything that happens on a physical level is also mirrored in the spiritual. And therefore, in order to spiritually heal as well, we have to understand that our souls are this constant wellspring of vitality and life and connection and to our core. And therefore, what we have to do in order to reconnect to that, because it's constantly there, we have to remove in our psyches, in our hearts, and especially in our bodies, all of the things that are creating and adding those layers of separation between us and that infinite light that is constantly the light of the soul, the light of the neshama that is connected to Hashem, which is the light of the Creator that is infinite and it is constant. And how do we do that? Okay, so obviously on a physical level, first of all, we can ask ourselves, okay, how do we heal on a physical level? Each person, I'm sure we're all, living in a time where everyone's on a journey of health and flexibility and strength and food and diet and a million and one things that everyone's doing. So, you can ask yourselves on a physical level, what does that healing look like for me this month? And on a psycho-spiritual level, I wanted to share how I see it on a more feminine, on like the feminine perspective, because I love sharing Judaism in the feminine perspective. But a question that I feel like we can ask ourselves in order to kind of get this process going is, what would it feel like in my body for me to feel like I have everything that I need and to feel safe? If you can sit with yourself and ask yourself that question, I am almost certain that there will be a certain relaxation and a certain surrender in your body. And basically what that allows us to do is that when we're living our lives in this like state of like control and contraction, that is on an embodied level, the things that is creating the separation between us and a state of flow, a state of receptivity, a state of surrender. So when we ask ourselves that question, and you can think about, okay, what would that look like? It could be that I have certain things, or I'm with a partner, or I have my dream apartment, or whatever that looks like for you. But to feel, what would it feel like in my body to really have that? And then the point is to, first of all, ask yourself and remind yourself that question every single day, so that you can constantly be living in that state of embodiment. Because what we want to do is that we want to regulate our systems to believe that those things are already happening. And once I'm able to do that, and once I'm able to surrender, which again, by me surrendering, I'm taking away the fear. I am removing the lack of self-confidence that is blocking me, or even the belief that I am not deserving. And when I remove all of those things, and I'm able to be in that state of surrender, I am in a magnetic state of receiving. And that is the power of the feminine. And I think that that is the connection to being receptive to the healing powers of the body and of creation. So that is one thing that I invite you to do. And also you can ask yourself really basic questions. What are, on a behavioral life level, what are the things that can decrease the toxins that I'm putting into my psyche? Maybe it's listening to a different podcast, or unfollowing, or not going to that party, or not being with that person, or doing whatever you need to do to remove those toxins. Then, okay, so that's like the first part, the part of healing. Amazing. Secondly, let's just talk about Sefirat HaOmer. I'm going to make a whole YouTube video about that, but really understanding that this month has like this subtle, Iyar is in the Jewish calendar is almost like You know, it's like, okay, yeah, there's big month, there's Nisan, which is Pesach, there's Adar, which is Purim, and Iyar kind of gets lost. But I think that, again, if we're looking at things in the feminine way, the things with the months with subtle energy and subtle power are actually and could be the most powerful. So that is this month of Sefirat HaOmer. If you want to learn more, I'm going to put up another video about how to tap into Sefirat HaOmer. And thirdly, and the last thing that I wanted to speak about was Yom Hazikaron and Yom HaAtzma'ut, which is happening today, actually. And, you know, I feel that in the Jewish world, we are so divided between religious and secular, and like, oh, we keep Pesach like this, and we do these things. And all of a sudden, with the creation of the state of Israel, we now have these days and these festivals that it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, or in the Torah or not, or if you identify as a Jew or Orthodox or Reform. It doesn't even matter. Like, you have lost someone. There's not a person in the country that you don't know that has lost someone. Like, if you've lost someone, if you have been through the 7th of October, if you are living and breathing the energy of war, which is what we're doing, that is uniting. Unfortunately, it's not for a good reason, but it's a sacred cause, and that creates a new type of glue in the nation. So for me, Yom HaZikaron really is the holiest day. It might not be a biblical day of holiness, you know, of Yom Kippur, but that's something that's a different kind of holiness. The holiness of this day is knowing that the blood that was spilled on every single pure, amazing, incredible soul, and may the shield be in the honor and uplift their souls, that every single one of these incredible men and women that have died, not just today, but pre-1948, and in every single war, and up until last week, and up until even maybe today in Gaza, that their souls went up, and that their blood is spilled not for any reason, but for us to come back to the land of Israel, to build a safe home that not only protects the Jews in Eretz Israel, but also protects the Jews outside of Israel. And for this place to be the breeding ground for a beautiful society. We are so far from it right now, and there's so much going on, and there's so much separation, but really Hashem brought us back to the land so that we can create an amazing, healthy, thriving society built on values and spirituality. And that is why we're here, and we need to not forget that. So I'm humbled and excited for Yom HaAtzma'ut, and obviously today Yom HaZikaron. And yes, I am blessing you and leaving you, and I hope that this was a little bit insightful, going through the spiritual Kabbalistic to the psycho-spiritual, and through to the Zionist, more modern connection to the month of Iyar. So we'll see you soon. Please subscribe. Please sign up to my newsletter. And yeah, we'll see you soon.